Gonna restart. Okay, I'm going to restart our recording. I expect that we'll probably have a few more people drop in, but I don't want to take too much time at the top here. Before I hand over our community call to our speakers, if you haven't attended a community call before or you haven't done it in a long time, we hold these monthly meetings to talk about demonstrations on new and interesting implementations, to provide updates on news and things that are going on in the community, and to make contact with different community groups and people within the larger cultural heritage sector, to share knowledge and to learn. So today we have a presentation from two folks from the Swedish Rock Art Research Archives. But before that, I have a couple of news updates. The first one, and you are all the first people to know this, is that the registration for the 2024 annual conference in LA is open. There's a link to the website here, and I can see people clicking on it. You can register now. It closes on May 14th. There will be some more announcements about that going out later if you don't remember now. The other is our world training events. So in March and April, we have a series of events that are aimed maybe not at the people who typically come to these meetings, but for end users and people who are not acquainted with IIIF. Instead of focusing on the technical side of IIIF or the APIs themselves, we focused exclusively on finding IIIF resources, the tools that you can use to work with them, and the different educational and research contexts in which you can use IIIF resources. So right now we have events happening in English, Chinese, and French that you can register for right now. And we'll also have events in Portuguese and Italian happening in April. So take a look at that and share that with anyone in your network who maybe would be interested in using IIIF resources, but not so interested in the technical side. Okay. And with that, I am going to turn it over to our guests. So first we have Aram Karimi. She is a system developer at GRIDH, and her main focus lies in data and AI engineering. And the other is Tristan Bridge up in the left-hand corner. He works as a front-end developer for GRIDH, and he works to develop user interfaces that allow researchers and users to visualize their data sets in new ways. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our guests.
Hello, thank you for having us. My name is Tristan, and this is my colleague Aram, and we are from GRIDH. I'm going to just get my PowerPoint up and running. One sec. Can you see the screen right now? Is it being
No.
shared? No? Okay, one sec. Okay, it seems like something's glitching out with my slide at the moment.
Do you
So
want to
just
share a link?
restart it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
I'm also happy to
just.
click through for you if that helps.
Oh, perfect. I'm gonna try one more time, and if it's
Okay.
still acting a bit strange, then maybe I'll opt for that. Or maybe I can just do it in like a windowed version as well. But let me just get started. So, and you can see my screen now, I hope.
Yes.
At least the small
Yep.
version, and I can zoom in maybe a little bit here. Oh, maybe that's not so helpful. Okay, I'll just have it like this for now, and then we can, if I find a different way, maybe we can switch that. But yeah, thank you for having us. We're from GRIDH, and like I said, I'm Tristan, and this is my colleague Aram. And so GRIDH is the Gothenburg Research Infrastructure in Digital Humanities, and we're a research node at the University of Gothenburg. And our primary focus is artificial intelligence, archives, and novel ways of documenting and publishing. And through this, we seek to strengthen, renew, and enrich humanistic research and teaching through digital source material, tools, and methods. Through this process, we create online platforms for people who'd like to make their data sets available for public viewing and research. So IIIF and GRID. So IIIF has become a core component in all our projects, primarily in conjunction with the use of OpenSeaDragon. We have used the high quality images to showcase archival organ texts, Etruscan tombs, and expeditions to the Arctic, as well as a variety of other archival material. And we are the first university infrastructure in Sweden to have our own IIIF image server from which we can visualize images in our front-end web programs. And actually, my colleague Aram, I'm going to hand over to now, who's going to talk a bit about how our backend works. And then I'm going to come back and talk about our front end processes. But I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to hand it over to Aram, if that's okay.
Yes, it's okay. Thank you, Tristan. And I'm going to present a little bit about who we are, what we are doing in GRID, and how our infrastructure works. And I'm not going to go by detail, but I'm going to show you how we work here and why we develop different tools such as IIIF for our researcher. I'm going to share a screen. Okay, let me see. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, looks good.
Okay, that's great. Okay. Let me have this one too. Okay. As Tristan mentioned, GRID is Gothenburg Research Infrastructure in Digital Humanities, and actually in GRID we are developing different tools for the researcher from variety of different research group. It could be in political science, museum, or art, or different type of the groups. And for this reason, we here develop different tools and modules for the researcher to make it easy and available for the researcher. Actually, in GRID, we have different roles, people from different backgrounds. You will see people from physics engineers, or people from biology, people like me from software engineer background. So many different roles you see. It's because our researcher, what do they expect from us? It's very vast, and we want to satisfy our researcher. And also we have external researcher, external project collaborators that we work with them. That's, I'm saying, to know GRID is really big group, and we develop variety of tools. IIIF is one of them that, as Tristan mentioned, it's one of our main focus for the research. Actually, if I want to say how we use IIIF and how it works for us, we have a huge infrastructure in GRID that we developed it for researchers, that they can access to our platform to publish their resources, and they can visualize it with different solution. And in GRID, we host lots of data, but main focus is on images. Our researcher, mostly they want to visualize their images and what's going on inside these images to their users. We have two different solutions for them to use IIIF, and actually this is for us also to have it as a research tools. One of our main focus is having IIIF server. Actually, we have one Linux server. We have set up and configured IIIF. And if one of our researchers asks us, could you please, for example, convert this bunch of images to IIIF, and if they don't want to share it with someone, we offer using Linux machine and this IIIF server. It's only for this, but we have another solution that's it's mostly we use with that, and you will see later the application with this platform. We have a backend server solution, and in this backend we use Django-based module, and I'm sure you already know about this. We use PyVips, that it's based on the IIIF images, and we try to convert the images to our IIIF format and visualize it for the users. Let me show a little bit about our technologies. The reason we want to develop and make accessible this data for the researcher is because in humanities, most of the time you see people digitize their material. People try to, make it sustainable and open for the other users. You might not be able to, visit different museum or different archive, but you want to see it online. Use these tools, this data for your research. And that's the reason we're creating this platform, and we claim this platform always should be open for the researcher. And everything we develop here, it's open, and we are thankful. IIIF community, it's one of our main tools we use here. I'm not going to talk more about what we are doing here, but I want you to see what is our focus here. The main focus here is gather the data from archive material, from digitized material, and make it sustainable and safe in our database. For this reason, we have developed tools. You can access to it and store your data here. Mostly we use PostgreSQL, but it could be also other type of the database. And our backend service is mostly based on the Django platform. Actually, our main use of IIIF is here in Django platform. Every time we create our data model and we use image models, as you will see later, most of our users, they want to present our images. Here, we automatically convert our images to IIIF format, and then in our front end, we use OpenDragon for showing IIIF images. You will see from Tristan presentation different platform that we use IIIF for that. But here it's our main technologies we use. Our databases, it's mostly based on the SQL platform. We don't use it's not mostly based on NoSQL, and it's relational database. For the backend development, we use Python, PHP, JavaScript, and it could be any type of the programming language, but these are our main focus. And in front end also we have JavaScript of you. I don't think so if they are relevant for you, but it's us and how we work here. And actually our IIIF is in heart of our backend. that it's always something we try to make it available for our researcher. And for this reason, we have an abstract model for the IIIF. It might be interesting for you. We have abstract model, and usually every time we create this, our data models, it's already available for our platform, and it makes it so easy for us to, to use it, because we have it already there and we use it different times. And in GRIDH, we host around 20 terabyte of data. That most of this data is images, and a huge amount of these images is actually IIIF. And this is why we are thankful you for this technology you provide for us. And I think from my side, I'm not going to details, but Tristan will show you how we present this and visualize this data for our researcher by applications side.
Thank you. I think I could share my screen again. Maybe
Yes,
if you stop sharing yours.
Let me stop my sharing.
Okay, I will share my screen. I couldn't get it in full screen, but I think this is the best for the time being. I hope this is okay for
It's
everybody.
fine.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of our front-end projects, and SHFA is one of them I'm going to start off with. So SHFA, or the Swedish Rock Carvings Research Archive, is one of our largest collaborations, and it is a research infrastructure in Europe that makes rock carving documentation available to researchers, education, and the public. What's so exciting about this project is that for hundreds of years, these carvings have existed in people's back lawns and by the side of the road. And now through the use of IIIF and this archive, we can visualize these records for students and researchers alike. There are currently 120,000 images and documents spanning from Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Italy, and Spain, but Sweden is the primary focus of this archive. We've subsequently converted these files to IIIF for display with OpenSeaDragon in our front end. So here you can see the gallery that relates to your specific site that you've clicked on, or maybe a search that you've done in the search bar. So by clicking on an image in the gallery, the middle panel, we open a side panel where the specific carving can be looked at more closely and downloaded. We also present relevant metadata here and a link to the corresponding item in the Swedish National Heritage Board. I'm going to try to show a video clip, but maybe it will require me to stop sharing my screen and then share again. So bear with me for 1 second. All right, and then I'm going to just share my screen again. And you can see it okay, hopefully? Great, okay. So if I skip to 20 seconds, I'm just going to give you just a bit of a demo of how it works. So I've just performed a search on the platform, and then you see the gallery populates with the results from the search. And these are different IIIF images. And now by clicking on one, we open the side panel with relevant metadata connected to that image. You can see the different tags and where it was found and the person who did it. You can also translate the results to English. And then by clicking on the full screen, we see the full screen IIIF image here. And I'll stop that and then go back to my slideshow. Great. So another project we use IIIF in is a collaboration with the Swedish Institute of Classical Studies in Rome. This portal collects and visualizes datasets concerning Etruscan chamber tombs. And it is our hope that the portal, which makes available descriptions, images, plans, and 3D models, will function as a resource both for researchers and for students. The user is presented with a map and gallery by which they can filter down based on the time period, type of data, and other such groupings. You can see on the left-hand side. Then by selecting a site, so one of the nodes on the map, we move to the place view where relevant data pertaining to that tomb is shown. Here we see observations, photographs, documents, and 3D models connected to the site. This data can be sorted by type or date at the top, and then clicking on one of the photographs leads to our OpenSeaDrag and IIIF viewer. So now we've gone on and clicked on one of the images, and here we can see one of the photographs and can now interact with the IIIF image on a more granular scale. We also see relevant metadata connected to this image, and again, the ability to download the file. This flow from a more general map to a specific image is at the core functionality of this front end in comparison to SHFA, where the user moves from left to right.
Tristan, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Can I interrupt you to
of
explain
course.
something here?
Yes.
Something it's really important for our researcher, because you're focusing on the image viewer. Something it's really important for our researcher, especially for SHFA and other platform. It's most of the time for this kind of the images and the data, researcher want to talk about a specific piece of the a specific part of the images, and they want to focus on that, and they want to say, okay, this part was important for us and we saw something here might be useful for you. And with this technology we can send the link from that specific area and say, okay, you want to talk about this part of the images. You might, Tristan, maybe you want to share something with them and they see how it works, because this one is really cool.
You're getting into something that I'm going to talk about in a second from now. But you're absolutely right, Aram. And I guess just hopping back to the Etruscan chamber tombs, if we go back to the place view, and instead we were to select a 3D model in the place view, we direct the user to our poetry viewer, which looks like this. And here we use point clouds to show a recreation of the space that can be moved through. There are further tools here available to the user, such as the ability to measure spaces, cut away objects, and otherwise get an idea for the scale of the tombs that the map/gallery wouldn't otherwise provide. So our data sets are also open source and can be downloaded directly from the websites. At this point, I'm going to stop sharing and share again because I just want to show a video of this. Give me 1 second. Great, and hopefully you can see. I'm just going to skip to 130, and we see this place view that I was talking about earlier, and the different types of data, such as the photographs attached to it. And we see documentation, and you're able to sort the data from year and also type at the top. And here I clicked into the IIIF image, and you can see the high quality image available to the user. And we can also go back and click on the 3D model as I talked about. And here, if we click on it, we see the point cloud of the tomb that the data comes from. And here, there's different options available to the user, such as adjusting the appearance of the point clouds. If you wanted a higher point size or a different field of view, you can change that on the fly. And you can also move through the space. So you can kind of get a sense for this tomb that we're collecting this data about. And let's say I was really interested in this bench and I wanted to get measurements about this bench, then I could put a clip, I could put a mask on it, and I could cut away the surroundings surrounding the bench and just get the bench, as I'm going to do in a second. And then I could take the measurements and the distance between 2 points. And we hope that this would be relevant and useful for researchers as they collect their data and interact with this data set. Great, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go back to my slides. Okay. The last project I wanted to talk about was Antarctica. And this portal makes available documentation of the historical remains of the first Swedish Antarctic expedition on the Antarctic Peninsula. So this material was collected in January and February of 2020 as part of the research trip that took place there, and is a collaboration between the Swedish National Heritage Board, the Swedish Research Council, and the Argentinian Antarctic Institute. So the first Swedish Antarctic expedition in 1901 sailed to Antarctica and established a research station on Snow Hill Island. Their 6 members overwintered and performed paleontological, meteorological, geomagnetic, and geological studies. After the winter, on the way back to Snow Hill Island, their vessel got stuck in the ice and sank. At this point, the expedition members were divided into 3 groups. One of these overwintered on an extra year and spent an extra year on Snow Hill Island, whereas the other 2 groups were forced to build stone huts in order to overwinter at Hope Bay and Paulet Island. An Argentinian vessel called the Corbeta Uruguay rescued the expedition in November of 1903. And so the remains of this expedition were what we wanted to preserve through this digital platform. So with the data set one of our colleagues, Jonathan Weston, brought back, we were able to build a platform that gives researchers and students the ability to come as close as possible to the data set spared traveling to Antarctica. We present 360 panoramas, point clouds, orthographic photos, and plans and drawings. This cabin that was built in the early 1900s is unfortunately in quite a perilous position due to the changing topography and sea level there. The whole landscape is changing due to climate change. When the glacier melts, the meltwater washes away large chunks of the hill that the cabin is standing on. And so by giving a digital form to this cabin and data, we hope that it can continue to be preserved in this sense, while being of use to future researchers and students. And we use IIIF here to allow researchers to view images from the datasets. But additionally, with OpenSeaDragon, we're able to save specific positions of the camera through the image URL that you can see at the top here, so that users, by copying and pasting this URL, can open the exact same image and the same position of the IIIF file. So in conclusion, at GRIDH, we hope to create digital tools that enable easier navigation and exploration of collections and archives for both researchers, students, and the public. IIIF is integral to this process as it provides the backbone for our visual presentation of images across our platforms. And Tristan and Aram was the one that spoke earlier. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was exciting. I'm afraid I undersold this and I only talked about the rock archive, but then we got tombs and we got Antarctica. So thank you. Big round of applause. We have a whole bunch of questions that have kind of piled up in the meeting chat, but I also want to encourage people, if you would like to just unmute or like raise your little cartoon hand in the Zoom, I'll take care of that for you. If you would like to ask your question directly. Are we shy? I know Matthias will ask his question. Do you you want to start at the bottom and we'll work our way up?
Yeah, just, actually, I'm looking for the icon to raise my yellow hand. Anyway, wonderful. I love this stuff. Apart from the question in the chat, I'd like to ask first something else. I was very impressed by the 3D selection of the bench. And, well, what's my question there? Well, I don't remember what I wanted to ask, but it's a wonderful stuff to. Yes, here it is again. You said something like you can also measure the size of the bench, and then you said, "I hope our researchers will find this useful." This comes to my question: Are you in touch with the researchers, or you build just cool stuff and hope what sticks on the end of the researchers? Is it really in use? Is it a demand, a requirement from the researchers of the university, or is it just cool?
No, that's a great question. So these projects all originate with a research team. And I said I hope because the project is not publicly available completely yet, it's still in the early iterations, and we're going to release it fully at the end of this month. But these projects all originate from a research team, and they kind of specify what type of data sets they're working with and what type of tools they would like to use in the front end. So the hope was coming out of maybe how the public would interact with it once it becomes more publicly accessible. But the researchers have requested these features.
Okay, thank you. And the other question from the
Thank you.
chat: do you support IIIF presentation manifest as well, or is everything IIIF image?
Or maybe you know more than I about this
Sorry,
question.
I didn't get the question. Could you please repeat it?
I went to your site and was looking for something, and I found the manifests for the images, which says which size and so on, so that the images can be used in other IIIF viewers as well. But there's also a presentation layer, and it's a different kind of manifest where you can store also the metadata for the images. And if you have lots of stones, you can have a kind of collection or a set of all the stones that come from one cave, for instance, so that you have bigger groups of items instead of just the image by image by image. So presentation layer, IIIF presentation layer is a level on top of the IIIF image layer, if I
That's really
explain
cool.
myself.
That's really cool.
I don't think we're using
so.
that.
No, we don't use it definitely. And I think it would be super useful for us when you were talking about that. I found it so interesting. But no, we use the standard version, the PROMIT format, and we don't use such a thing.
You're halfway there already. So you have all the data.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would
Yeah.
be super useful for us. And yeah. No, unfortunately, right now we just use one format. And if you look at our services, you see it's mostly based on the IIIF.
And then, sorry, before we move on to some more involved questions, I know you just said when the Etruscan tomb project would be publicly available, but I missed it.
I don't have the exact date, but it's towards the end of this month that I think we'll be doing the final presentation and public release. But I can come back to you maybe with a more a final date when I know.
Tristan, let me know and I'll put it in our newsletter and then everyone will know.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think you
Thank
can already put our SHFA because last night it was in news.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then we have a few questions about the design and the UI. So Brittany is wondering, and Brittany, feel free to chime in. What was your design process for the UI? And that she finds the left to right nav quite a unique solution for less to more granularity of info. So how did the needs differ between the Etruscan tombs and the rock art projects? That's a two-part question.
Yeah, I could say that for the Etruscan Tombs project, we were much more interested in presenting the map as the primary point of entry, whereas for SHFA, there is more search functionality. We have advanced search, we have a general search, whereas with Etruscan Tomb, we were more interested in filtering down map points and being able to enter the data set that way. So that was kind of our thought process of designing it. And not going from the left and right, but using the map and going more granular in that capacity. And actually, the Etruscan Tombs project is based on a project template that we have called the multimodal map. And this multimodal map is a template that we use across quite a few projects, Etruscan Tombs being one. We also did a recent project about the Jubileum here in Gothenburg. So it's a recurring template that we use across different projects, and we kind of take in the needs of the researchers, and then we decide if we want to go for more of the map-centered focus or use something along the lines of SHFA where the user can move left to right. So it depends on a research on an individual project basis. I hope that maybe answers some of your question, Brittany.
Yeah, and then were there differences in the metadata available between the two projects?
You want
Yeah,
to take that one on?
yeah, definitely. One of the reason you see we have the option for advanced search in such a way, it's the huge amount of the metadata that researcher provide for us, and we can have this functionality. But for Troscomtum, we have other type of the metadata, and that's the reason we go for the multimodal map visualization, not based on the search mostly. And some of these data, they are adding metadata. For example, for the Truscomtom, I think we have this functionality. They can annotate the data also.
So do we have any other questions?
There was one question about why Postgres,
Oh.
and I saw it when I was presenting. And I think if we get back to our background, we started in 2015, and we tried different type of solution. For example, we have one service based on the, I forgot the name of that, for the RS News. Elasticsearch, I'm sorry. We used Elasticsearch. We have based on MySQL. We have different type of the technology. But after trying different type of the database solution, we came to this idea that Postgres is more stable. They have a great support for the their user, and also it's one of the fast solution for fetching data from database, and that was the reason we decided to use Postgres. And also another reason is we have so many different type of the data, and it makes it easy to use Postgres, not MySQL. They have different type of the data supports. That's one of the other reason.
Okay. Matthias?
Thank you, Matthias, for the map. That's really interesting. I'm going to share a link to the Jubileum project that we worked on, which also features a map from the archive.
I have a
But thank you.
map-related question, actually. I suppose you have thousands of rocks and stones and items with geotags, so geo-coordinates associated. What's your process to get the coordinates for all the stones and rocks and images? I mean, there must be not just a command line interface somewhere. It must be some graphical user interface to point somewhere. Otherwise, it's a burden to do all this.
Do you want to answer that, Aram, about how we organize it in the back end?
Actually, for the Django itself has a map based. You can choose, for example, this rock art. It's for this, and also you can share the exactly coordinates for the Django, for the also Django and Postgres. But actually, it's our archaeologists. They create these coordinates. It's not us, and they provide this data for us, and we just store them and show it on the front end based on the, is it a Google Street Map?
For
The
which
map
one,
you're
Aram?
using for SHFA, for
for
example.
we use OpenStreetMaps.
OpenStreet, not
which
Google.
is
Sorry.
yes.
Yes. based on the OpenSSL. But these coordinates are, for example, we have one model based on the geography. We store all the information regarding the Swedish geography information, for example, different states, their different common and all of this information. And every time if they want to click for the, decide about one exact coordinate, they go for that. But it's already available using Django.
So to summarize, it's the bleeding fingers of the archaeologists that you just get.
Yes, yeah, that one definitely.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
And also I see someone says these platforms are really cool, and I want to be your user. If you want, actually, our resources mostly are open source, and we would be happy if you contact us, and if you say, okay, we want to use this platform for gathering data or storing data, this is publicly available, and of course you can use it, or you can be our users.
I will say if you're open to having people contact you, if you would put your email addresses in the community call notes, that'll be a good resource for people to find you later. Okay, and Brittany says this is her favorite community call ever. So great. Okay, so
we're super happy you reached out, Caitlin, and put us in contact. We're hoping that we can continue to be in contact in the future. Maybe we can share updates with some of our projects as we release them.
Yeah, definitely, because since we are super busy and we don't have that much time to see the latest version or upcoming feature, that would be useful for us to see what's going on here. If there is something useful for us, we can use in our house.
Great. Okay, so any last thoughts before we wrap up? No? Okay. So thank you both for your presentation today. Please let me know as things become available. This came together because we put the Rock Archive project in our newsletter, and I saw we had just tons of people clicking through to check it out. So it's definitely of interest to the community, and there's lots of people here who would be like Brittany who are interested in using it. So please keep in touch. If you can put your email addresses in there, we'll share wider. And thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Happy Valentine's Day,
Thank
everyone.
you very
Yeah.
much. Thank you for having us.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.